Welcome, pilots! This is the second part of a series where I'll take a deep dive into the suitability of tactical destroyers for running high-security combat sites. The first video reviewed the ship attributes and tactical modes for each player faction's tactical destroyer. In this video, I'll be focusing on the Confessor, the Amarr's answer to tactical destroyers. My stated goal for this series was to find a single fit capable of running as many high-security combat sites as efficiently as possible. On my website over at RileyEntertainment.com, I originally provided two theoretical fits for the Confessor. The Sniper Fit has a high scan resolution and warp speed, and is equipped with both a micro-warp drive and afterburner for the highest possible flexibility. The Tank Fit gives up the scan resolution and warp speed for a much stronger active armor tank. These original fits have now been replaced with a collection of 4 alternatives, each with its own specific purpose. While I'd hoped to settle on a single fit, I feel these choices reflect the reality of what you'll be facing in different combat sites against different pirate factions. Before I dive into which specific combat sites gave me the most trouble, I'll discuss some of the fitting choices you'll likely be making flying a Confessor. Your first choice will be which small energy turret to use. Using the Compare tool, let's have a look at the attributes for each Tech 2 small energy turret. Pulse lasers have significantly lower range and lower damage output than beam lasers. The trade-off is they have significantly less draw on the ship's capacitor, much higher tracking, and are generally easier to fit. If you prefer a more kitey style of play, then on the surface it looks like beam lasers should be the obvious choice, so long as you're not having any issues fitting small focused beam lasers. I found this to be true for most high-security combat sites. There is one caveat to this, however, which comes in the form of Tech 2 frequency crystals. If you've trained small pulse laser specialization, then loading conflagration crystals into small focus pulse lasers makes them the highest DPS choice. Just keep in mind that Tech 2 frequency crystals do get damaged when they're used. You'll want to bring along a spare set of Tech 2 crystals in case any of them break while running a site. I put together a chart showing the DPS, optimal range, tracking, and activation cost for each combination of energy turret, frequency crystal, and tactical mode. The numbers shown are based on my character's skills, which are nearly perfect for tactical destroyers, with only small pulse and beam laser specialization missing level 5. I've made this chart available over on the ship fitting section of my website over at RileyEntertainment.com. The Confessor has 6 high power slots, but only 4 turret hardpoints. While you'll obviously want a probe launcher, there's the question of what to fit in the second utility high power slot. If you don't have enough CPU or power grid, there's always the option of simply leaving it empty. Otherwise, the 2 potential options for running combat sites are a salvager or a tractor beam, which I found useful when looting the wrecks of faction spawns or special structures. With 3 mid-power slots, you have the option of trying to fit both a micro-warp drive and afterburner. Having a micro-warp drive gives you the ability to race towards a wreck in cases where you're in direct competition with another capsuleer. If you're not concerned with this, fitting only an afterburner puts much less draw on your power grid and capacitor. With 5 low power slots, higher armor hit points, and a bonus to armor resistances while in defense mode, the Confessor is clearly meant to be armor tanked. At a minimum, you'll want a small armor repairer. Depending on the sites you plan to run, you have plenty of options to increase your armor resistances so that you can stay in Sharpshooter mode as much as possible. The main challenges I faced came in the Angel and Sansha occupied mining colony sites, both being the DED rated 4 of 10s. The Angel, Blood, and Sansha Watch and Vigil sites have similar challenges. The second room of the Angel occupied mining colony is filled with NPCs that hit you with target painters. This balloons your signature radius, making you much easier to hit and forcing you into switching to defense mode, at least until the target painters are all dealt with. This in turn reduces your damage output to be roughly the same as it would be with a similarly fit Retribution. This actually gives the Retribution an advantage, as it has higher resists, a smaller signature radius, and a better speed tank with an afterburner. The second room of the Sansha occupied mining colony instead has NPCs that hit you with tracking disruptors. This forces you to engage at a much closer range, thereby also forcing you into switching to defense mode. Compare this to a ship like the Jaguar, which remains unaffected by tracking disruption, allowing it to remain at a distance during the engagement. Due to the type of E-War present, I actually found that I had an easier time running Serpentis and Garista's combat sights in the Confessor, in spite of its lower thermal and kinetic resist profile. So let's take a look at the 4 fits I've settled on for running combat sights in the Confessor. The first I've named Versatile PvE, capable of running many high-security combat sights with reasonable efficiency. It uses small focused beam lasers and 2 heatsinks, giving it over 350 DPS with multi-frequency crystals at a range of 15 kilometers. With radio crystals, it maintains 150 DPS at over 40 kilometers. It has both a micro-warp drive and afterburner, giving you the option of both chasing down wrecks when in direct competition with another capsuleer, or speed tanking from a distance when facing a large number of NPCs. While I normally try to stick to Tech 2 modules, this fit includes a Senti C-type small armor repairer. This is partially due to fitting issues trying to include a tractor beam, but also to improve the armor repair rate. This fit is quite capable in all combat anomalies, hideout and lookout sites, and 3 of 10 sites. It can compete in watch sites and 4 of 10s, but requires a lot more caution and patience. The Angel and Sansha sites are particularly difficult. It's actually quite good in the Blood 4 of 10, the Malzatah Monastery, as it can take out the stasis towers and central structure from extreme range using radio or aurora crystals. The second fit is geared towards collecting escalations at the fastest pace possible. It drops the micro-warp drive and damage control in favor of increasing scan resolution. This fit is efficient in all combat anomalies, as well as hideout and lookout sites. It does have to be said, however, that there are plenty of ships better than the Confessor for this role. The third fit is focused on being able to run the most difficult combat sites against the Angel Cartel. It uses small focused pulse lasers and a strong cap-stable active armor tank with high explosive and kinetic resists. This allows it to face tank the second room of the Angel Cartel occupied mining colony. I found I still had to take out a few of the target painters while in defense mode, before being able to switch to Sharpshooter mode to focus down the mining foreman. In the Angel Vigil site, I found the safest approach was to ignore the stasis towers and slowboat towards the shipyard in defense mode. Once in range with Scorched Crystals, switch to Sharpshooter mode to take out Pat Weed, then immediately switch back to defense mode. And the fourth and final fit is focused on tackling the most difficult Sansha's Nation combat sites. This is nearly identical to the Angel face tank fit, swapping out the energized membranes for EM and thermal resists instead. The Sansha's Nation occupied mining colony can be similarly face tanked. In this case, I found I was able to ignore all the NPCs, making a beeline for the mining foreman. Because the Confessor deals EM and thermal damage, it has a bit of an easier time breaking the Sansha mining foreman's tank than it does the Angel mining foreman. Overall, the face tank fit actually has the most flexibility in terms of being able to complete any high-security combat site. You can bring along one of each type of energized membrane with you in your cargo hold, and swap them out when you transition from one area of space to another. However, it's not the most efficient fit for some of the easier sites, such as the hideaway, hideout, or lookout. I must admit that I was disappointed that I couldn't come up with a better fit that uses the higher range beam lasers. I really like having the flexibility to tackle any site at high range, even if it's not the most efficient fit for some subset of sites. So after having flown the Confessor, I think I still prefer assault frigates. I've definitely been beaten to the prize by Confessor pilots, but when thinking back, I don't ever recall competing against a Confessor in 4 of 10 or Vigil sites. If you're an experienced Confessor pilot, let me know in the comments if I'm missing anything that might help improve its efficiency in high-security combat sites. I was continuously tweaking my fits while attempting combat sites throughout all regions of space while producing this video, so it took quite some time to complete. I'm expecting to go through a similar process for the other tactical destroyers, so I suspect this series may take longer to produce than I originally hoped. Regardless, I'll be moving along to the Jackdaw next. I recently completed a 13-part series detailing all high-security Blood Raider combat sites. I'm planning on starting a similar guide for Sansha's Nation combat sites soon, and will likely begin releasing it before the Tactical Destroyer series is complete. You can find all of my EVE Online content in the gaming section of my website over at RileyEntertainment.com. So stay tuned to Riley Entertainment and smash that like button if you enjoy my content.